He only needed shelter for one night. The storm had washed out the only road home, and the woman who opened her door seemed, at first, like the answer to a desperate prayer. She smiled. She fed him. She gave him a place to sleep. She never once mentioned that some doors, once you walk through them, follow you for the rest of your life. This is the story of the night Emman Bautista spent in a stranger's house, and the truth he never stopped running from. Emman was 26, 3 hours from home, driving a delivery route through the mountain barangays when the sky opened up and the road disappeared under a wall of rain. His motorcycle skidded twice before he gave up and pushed it the last stretch to the nearest light he could find. A small nipa hut set back from the road, half hidden by banana trees, smoke rising from a cooking fire despite the storm. A woman answered his knock before he'd even finished it. Middle-aged, maybe older, it was hard to tell in the dim light, with sharp eyes that studied him a beat too long before she stepped aside to let him in. "Bad night to be traveling alone," she said. It wasn't a question. She said her name was Aling Deling. She said she lived alone, that her husband had passed years ago, that visitors were rare enough she didn't mind the company. She gave him rice and dried fish without being asked, and Emman, soaked, tired, grateful, didn't stop to wonder why a woman living alone had already prepared enough food for two. It was small things at first, the way Aling Deling never sat down to eat with him, saying she'd already had her dinner, though he never saw a second plate. The way she asked careful questions. Did anyone know exactly where he was tonight? Did his family expect him home? Would anyone come looking if he didn't arrive by morning? He answered honestly, too tired to think twice. No one knew this road. No one would look here. Something shifted in her face when he said it, something that might have been relief, or might have been closer to hunger. She showed him to a small room at the back of the hut, told him to sleep well, and latched the door from the outside as she left. Emman told himself it was for privacy. He told himself a lot of things lying there in the dark, listening to rain hit the roof, trying to ignore the growing feeling that latching a guest's door from the outside, it was not a kindness. Sleep didn't come easy, and when it finally did, it didn't last. He woke to silence, the sudden, wrong kind, where even the rain seemed to hold its breath. Through the gaps in the bamboo wall, moonlight cut thin silver lines across the floor, and through those same gaps, Emman saw movement outside, low to the ground at first, then rising, then wrong in a way his mind refused to accept for several long seconds. A torso, just a torso, pale and upright, trailing into nothing where legs should have been. Long hair hung loose around a face that, horribly, he still recognized. Aling Deling's face. Aling Deling's eyes catching the moonlight the way an animal's would. Wide leathery wings unfolded from her back with a sound like wet cloth tearing, and she lifted off the ground, hovering just outside his window, close enough that he could see her breathe in, tasting the air, tasting him. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. Every instinct in his body told him to stay still, to become furniture, to become nothing worth noticing. After a stretch of time that felt endless but was probably only seconds, she turned and flew off into the storm, toward the next house down the mountain road, where an old widower lived alone with a cough that hadn't gotten better in weeks. Emman didn't wait to see where she went. He was already moving. The latched door didn't hold against panic the way it had held against curiosity. He was out in the rain within seconds, running blind down the mountain road with no light but distant lightning. His motorcycle left behind. His only thought, the desperate math of distance and time. How far to the next house? How long until sunrise? How long a creature like that needed before returning to whatever passed for her nest? He didn't look back. He didn't dare. Dawn found him kilometers down the road, collapsed at the doorstep of a sari store just opening for the morning, saying something about a woman in wings that the shopkeeper first assumed was fever, or drink, or both. It wasn't until days later, when word spread that old Mang Ambo, the widower with the lingering cough, had been found dead, drained and hollow in a way no doctor could explain, that anyone in the mountain barangays began connecting the pieces. By then, Emman was already gone, back in the city, telling himself the storm and the fever had made him see things that weren't real. He almost believed it. For most of his adult life, he almost believed it. Emman is 56 now, gray at the temples, when his own daughter, home from university, sorting through old family photos for a school project, asks why he's suddenly gone pale over a single image, a photograph from his late grandmother's belongings, a family gathering from long before he was born, faces he doesn't know, names written in fading ink on the back, except one face he does know, one face he spent his whole adult life trying to forget. Aling Daling, younger, smiling, standing beside a woman his grandmother once called, in stories Emman dismissed as a child's superstition, "You're Lola's sister, the one the family doesn't talk about." His daughter asks why his hands are shaking. Emman doesn't have an answer he's ready to give her. Not yet, maybe not ever. Emman still doesn't know if what runs in his family is a curse, a bloodline, or something else he doesn't have a word for. What he does know is this: his daughter has his grandmother's sharp eyes, and lately she started asking questions about relatives no one in the family wants to discuss. If a stranger ever offers you shelter from a storm, and something about the invitation feels a little too convenient, a little too well prepared for a guest they weren't expecting, trust that feeling. The Manananggal is one of the most well-known creatures in Philippine folklore, especially in the Visayas region. By day she looks human, but at night she separates her upper body from her lower half to fly and hunt. Her one true weakness, salt or ash on her lower half before dawn. If she can't rejoin in time, sunrise finishes what the ritual begins. If you enjoyed this story, tell us in the comments. Would you have run or would you have stayed to find out more? And if you want more Filipino folklore brought to life, subscribe to Folklore of the Archipelago. A new legend awaits every week.